Japan's economy, like the rest of the world, is about to undergo a major roller coaster ride of events that's going to eventually usher in a new type of future currency. Likely a Japanese digital currency along with some type of a physical currency that somehow changes, including the backing of this new physical currency changing as well. We are going to see the same in United States, Canada, Australia, and eventually across the globe. Major changes, friends, in currencies and what actually backs and empowers these currencies. First, it will have to be the fall, of course, and the collapse of current currencies and the corruptive banks and government leaders behind these currencies. It will be a fight to take back our wealth from the rich oligarchs and the corrupt leaders. We will once again see small bank closures taking place both in Japan and throughout the globe, along with a strong potential of many folks losing their money from such bank closures and other major drops in stocks and bonds in the latter part of this year. I do see a point in which folks in Tokyo are having issues getting money from the banks and the money access machines. And I feel this strong need, as I've been telling folks for a while, try to always have some bit of cash on hand in case of emergency. Whether you need cash and just in case and you can't access it, always have cash on hand. I also feel a combination of cyber attacks that are going to be hitting Japan and the rest of the world. Somehow, a cyber attack against their markets and against their banking system. I also see some type of a temporary power outage, one perhaps from a cyber attack. This would be in a big city like Tokyo, but also power outages due to large, huge storms. Back to the economy, of course, having physical investments like silver and precious metals as a long-term investment is going to be the best avenue at this point. There will be silver shortages in the future. Therefore, the prices are going to skyrocket over the next few years. A dire warning of events, starting with shortages of rice and issues with trade with China. Many countries are going to endure some trade issues when it comes to China, and China's economy begins to tank into recession and depression. Coming global droughts in Asia, accompanied by a big flooding event, is going to have a detrimental effect on crops, especially rice crops, climate, and other weather events globally, but especially hitting Asia and Europe in the coming years, which is going to lead to more and more shortages of crop goods and much higher prices. This is going to include, of course, much higher prices when it comes to our meats at the grocery store as well. I feel that there is some type of an issue that fishermen in Japan are going to be facing. A combination of catching less fish and strict governmental policies that can and will affect the small fishermen. The Japanese people must stand up against this coming attack on fishermen and a fight for much less commercial fishermen in the waters. This will also become a huge problem in the Sea of Japan and in the East China Sea, with China trying to fish out the waters for their own greed and consumption, of course. I see several amazing discoveries coming out of Japan. First, I see the discovery that becomes unearthed, likely after some type of an earth shift or earthquake. This reveals some of the very ancient history of Japan, not just to the Japanese people, but of that area of the globe from the ancient past. This event, I feel, also reveals some type of underground caverns, tunnels, or both. Something interesting to look forward to. Speaking of tunnels, I feel that there's going to be some type of a tunnel collapse of some sort in Japan, trapping several folks inside. This feels to me like it could be related to construction that's happening inside the tunnel that goes bad and fails, causing this collapse to occur. I see several other amazing discoveries that are going to be discovered off the west coast of Japan and the northeastern side of Japan beneath the waters. One of these discoveries is going to be of an old shipwreck, and even a discovery of some type of treasure off the coast. Some of the coming Earth shifts of the planet is going to bring discoveries to the surface, as small islands also begin to form over the next decade surrounding Japan. I feel that there is going to be some type of shocking arrest that's going to take place in Japan, and across the globe too, friends, as I've been predicting for quite some time. Arrests of corrupt leaders in Japan, and even shocking fall of a famous Japanese celebrity. Who will it be? I see an eruption happening at Mount Tarame volcano in the national park in Japan, and I feel it erupting. The last time that it erupted was in 1981, which was a one-year numerology like 2026 is going to be. This also brought back to mind the thought of a past prediction of seeing Mount St. Helens erupting again. The last time that occurred was actually a year prior to Mount Taramu in Japan in 1980, which was a 9-year numerology. A 9-year numerology just like 2025. Lots of activities rising up in southern Japan with volcanic activity, including another offshore eruption that billows smoke from the ocean waters. I feel that 2026 can bring more activity to the volcanoes globally, but mostly in both Japan, Indonesia, and Alaska. I feel that Mount Fuji is going to set off a huge blast. This is going to be a warning that is needed to alert of a coming major earthquake happening soon after, but in a different part of Japan, not near Mount Fuji. This event may not necessarily play out, of course, in 2025, but I'd say now, between now and 2028. However, I do feel that July of this year, 2025, especially the very beginning of July, we are going to see tons of activity globally and in Japan with the tectonic plates, with earthquakes, severe drought in the northern hemisphere, and major flooding events. Also, look towards the time of July 10th, full moon, and a huge storm or earth event occurring on July 11th. I would also tell you not to rule out the intensity of energies flowing in the month of March. March is going to be intense when it comes to severe flooding, cyclones, followed by major mudslides. And I see this for Japan, Vietnam, parts of Asia, being hit pretty hard with floods. Late March comes to mind even stronger when I see these visions. I feel a very strong shaking coming to Tokyo, Japan. I had a vision where I saw buildings swaying back and forth and heard the sounds of car alarms echoing through the city streets. I heard loud sounds of thunder, which was very strange. And I feel that this is a hit from a very, very large earthquake that is going to strike almost in the center of Japan, just outside of Tokyo, Japan. Last year, in my channel Vision predictions, I saw humanitarian aid being called to Japan and United States both. 2025 is that 9 universal year in numerology, which is a focus on humanitarian efforts. It would make most sense that a large-scale event calling for such aid would occur in 2025. Not to mention the current astrological alignments that also bring to focus humanitarian aid. The date July 4th jumps out at me for a large-scale event occurring. This is also could be taking place July 4th in America and July 5th in other countries. A date to look towards something major happening on July 4th and 5th in the realms of climate shifts and weather. July also gives me a very strong feeling of large amounts of water flowing in, which would make me believe that this could actually be tsunami related, and perhaps related to some random damaging rogue waves. California, beware of rogue waves, unlike anything you have witnessed in the past. Keep an eye on the waters, says Spirit. Rogue waves even coming in and hitting Japan, Hawaii, and other places as well.